intimidated.
You're a little intimidated.
These things are professional.
Well, again, we try here at Comic Geek Speak.
I don't know how to talk into these.
Or you just, talk
Yell.
like this, like I am. Just
Yell. Just scream. It makes everything
Louder,
better.
right?
Yeah.
Make sure you got to get through this part.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is all being recorded right now. Every word you say.
Are we recording right now?
Well, yeah. I mean, I can always edit it out, but these guys were here. They heard it, so.
It happened.
Oh, geez. Was that on while you guys weren't here?
No, it was not. I just turned it on
Oh, boy.
1 minute ago. I just turned it on 1 minute ago.
Oh, we're in trouble.
I have a Q-tip. I can forget this part of the show.
The mind eraser?
I do.
You mean 38?
Goodness gracious me. So if you guys, once we get started, and if I ask for any, that mic will be ready for any Q&A. Yeah, see, you were prepared for that, were you?
Joe's ready to go.
I'm like thoroughly impressed, except for the building and the place and the show itself.
Otherwise, not bad.
You fancy New York guys, it's like slumming for you, right?
I'm impressed.
Old laser tag stadium.
I'm especially impressed with the 3 miles of abandoned warehouse you got to get through to get to the show. I like that part. It's awe-inspiring. I thought you were luring me here to kill me or something. And then I realized other people were here, and I'm like, okay, witnesses.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't have a hand-drawn map he was leading you here with, was he?
It actually wasn't a hand-drawn map that he gave me.
With letters, magazines I cut out and pasted together.
It was. Those were the first indicators.
Well, before Art gets, I asked you a question before. If you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be? Oh, turn that off!
Well, no, I get very dramatic texts. I'm sorry.
Professionalism out the window.
Okay, I forgot. I thought I wasn't getting on a plane today, so okay. What is
If you're
that?
going to be a tree, what kind of tree would you be?
Is it really the question?
No, it's not the question. Ladies and gentlemen, now entering the arena, Mr. Art Baltazar. Give it up for Art. We got a view.
Look at this professional setup they got going on here.
You're kidding.
You speaking to me right there? Apparently.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, nylon.
The way you don't pop your peas.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hear me? Is this thing on?
Yeah, it's on. We're recording. Just, project towards the microphone. Project.
Yes. You guys know who we are? Do we need to introduce ourselves? Yes. We got questions.
I know you guys, you are Art Baltazar, owner of
Oh, yeah, Carl.
Yeah.
That's true. We're famous now and cartoonists and stuff.
Yes.
I do stuff for DC Comics and Superman Family Adventures and Tiny Titans.
The Green Team coming out very soon.
Yeah. I think it's coming out in, I don't know, May, June, July or something.
May 22nd.
May, oh, cool. So I was hovering around the date.
The new cover from Amanda Connor was just released online.
Yeah, it has
With
Deathstroke on
Deathstroke.
the cover.
I saw that.
Yeah. I wanted to put Superman on the first cover, but
Well,
it might
anyway,
be all right.
everybody, welcome to the Spotlight on All Yeah Comics, again, with Art and Franco.
Yeah, that's us.
Yes. Thank you guys for coming to the show. I very much appreciate it. We got both of you guys here. I'm very excited. You guys have a good time this weekend?
It's awesome.
Yes.
I was in a plane for an hour and a half, and the cab ride to get to the airport to here was like 3 hours. So for another 5, I could have made it home to Chicago.
Should just flew to my house. We could have driven here faster.
Yeah, but it was pretty good. They picked us up in a stretch limo. Now I know what stretch means. It means really long. I had a tie and a suit on. It was
Well, I
pretty
didn't
cool.
call that for years.
I had a sign with my name on it. It was pretty cool.
And you flew in with Mike Norton and Sal Abernathy.
Yeah,
How was that flight?
it was a real famous flight.
Yeah?
Yeah, we had a percentage of the comic industry on the plane. It was pretty good. I liked it a lot.
Well, I hope you speak well of us when you go back to Chicago.
I will. I'm going to tweet about you.
Oh, stop it.
We've
Stop
already
it.
been tweeting about you and pasta all weekend.
Me and pasta.
Not necessarily together, but yes.
And comics, of course.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
Well, again,
This is almost like a podcast. You know?
well, yeah, it's like, well, it's being recorded for a podcast. It's released at a future date. We have actually somebody videoing right up there, so smile for the camera there.
Oh, yeah, man. Oh, yeah, video.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
What do you got, pants? Come on.
Well, I already know. Gosh, oh, my notes here. Okay, now you actually own
Yeah.
a comic store.
We
And you've
do.
been open a year.
Yes.
This is true.
All Yeah Comics.
Yes.
Yeah,
Skokie, Illinois?
yes.
Beautiful downtown.
Beautiful downtown Skokie. It's about 20 minutes north of Chicago. It's actually touching Chicago. So it's the first suburb that you get.
Show on the map where Skokie touched you. Is that kind of thing there?
Yeah, it touched me near Evanston. Yeah. but it's a few years, maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, Brother Bear, our partner, named Mark Hammond. We call him Brother Bear because he looks like a giant bear. But him and Franco were talking about Brother Bear wanted to get a shop somewhere, and they were talking, they were scheming, and then I walked in and said, hey, what are you guys talking about? We're talking about this. Like, wow, that's kind of cool. And then, before you knew it, Mark Hammond was here in Chicago. He called me up, looked and said, hey, I need to find a storefront. What? You're here? He said, yeah. So we shopped around. I'd never been to Skokie before, and I've been living in Chicago for, how am I, 44? I've been here for about 48 years. And, I know Chicago back and forth, but I've never been to Skokie. So we went there, and we both knew it was the place. We walked around and found a spot. And then we just decided over, like, let me think about it. Phone call next morning, all right, let's open up a shop. And then,
Because that's how we roll things.
yeah.
Is that how you guys roll?
It
Just
makes,
like that?
it's cool. It just looks good on paper. It makes sense, and we look at each other's eyes, and you're like,
Lovingly.
Franco and Brother Bear are looking at me, and their eyes are glowing, and I'm like, all they're waiting for me to say is, yeah, okay. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And they're like, yes, and we embraced it, and we found a place and
You
signed
embraced
some
All-
papers, and
all of that is a lie.
Yeah.
basically.
yeah,
That's what we
it's a
do.
big metaphor. But yeah, we've been open a year, and we have a comic shop. We have our own comics coming out with mascots from the store called Action Cat Adventure Bug. Our comics are called Oh Yeah Comics, and they come from our comic shop, Oh Yeah Comics. And if you meet
Keep
us, we're
mentioning
probably
Oh Yeah
going to say
Comics.
Oh Yeah Comics.
.com.
.com. So it's been awesome.
And you had a Kickstarter campaign not too long ago to
Yeah.
raise some money for your All Yeah Comics, and I hear it did pretty well.
Yeah, we really thought
And by the way,
about this.
Franco, feel free to jump in any time.
Oh, he is.
Oh, yeah, no, I will. I'm
It's
good.
important, yeah. He picks it up where I need it, you know. But we have another friend named Zod, Chris Smith. All our friends are. We got Jimmy the Muscle, we got Brother Bear, we got Zod, we got Yoko Chips.
A lot of times
Little
people
Johnny.
can't remember their actual names.
Yeah, it's easier to remember. We got Ninja Bob. He says, you know, my name's Anthony. You know, we got all kinds of
We got Dancing Bob. too.
Dancing Bob, Ninja Bob.
Dancing Bob.
We got Jimmy the Muscle, Jimmy Cruise Director. We got Pants. Everybody's got names. So where was I going? Zod. So Zod said he wanted to be part, and he goes, I'll run it. Why don't you guys do a Kickstarter? Because he heard we talking about, we wanted to publish books and sell them in our store. But originally I was thinking like 1994 style, where you staple them at Kinko's and stay up all night and sell the black and white ones where the pages are crooked, and you know what, a Xerox copy needs toner and all
We're
that.
professional now, so the pages would have been a little straighter.
Yeah. So I was thinking that would be cool. And then he said, we're like, well, how much? What if we went to a real printer? And then we looked at that and said, wow, that's expensive. And then we wanted to say it, but then we started talking with our wives, and they make sense when they speak. And then Zod said, well,
You
why don't
actually
we
said
do
that
it?
on the air now.
Yeah,
so
I know.
They can hear it.
Well, my wife's very smart. Yours is very smart. We have smart ladies. And we're proof that reading comics will get you hot chicks. So, we're good, you know. But,
And drawing.
and drawing and give us children and everything.
They just give you
know?
children?
They let us make them with them, yeah. Hey, baby, you want to have some children? Sure. Which books did you read? I'm a big fan of Killing Joke. All right, come on. You know, whatever. I was like, oh, yeah, Zod said, he said, well, it's kind of expensive. He said, well, why don't you get a Kickstarter? Me and Franco said, it's hard. We have no time. I got deadlines. I don't sleep. I sleep three nights a week right now.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
It's hurting. And he goes, I'll do it. Like, you know how? Yeah. You sure? Yeah. He goes, okay, go ahead. So he did it.
We
set
had a
up a
conversation, right? So I know how to do it. I don't know. He said he does.
Yeah, my wife says, you're gonna
It's
do
good enough for
Kickstarter? Like, yeah, Zod's gonna run it. Does he know how? Is he smart? I go, yeah, he is. But we never had a conversation besides comics or hanging out or pass me a sliced pizza, that kind of stuff. But it worked out good, and he's awesome. And he's our brother and publisher. We call him our brublisher. That's the title. My brublisher.
And it did well. It exceeded our expectations because we honestly thought we were going to get our goals within 3 or 4 weeks, and then we'd have time to plan. They call them push goals or stretch goals and stuff like that. And we all kind of panicked a little when we hit the goal in 7 hours.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, we better start thinking about those stretch goals now.
I thought we'd get it in like 3.5 weeks, but all of us were at the computers looking at the screen for all that time. And I knew after 11 minutes, we had $1,000. Like, wait a minute. We were asking for 15.
Yeah, $15,000 originally was your goal.
Yeah, because that's just to pay for printing. We didn't do anything else but printing a comic. We was like, oh, it's going to cost this, and shipping it to us. And once that thing got to $1,000 in 11 minutes, I did a real quick calculation. We could get this really quick. 15 times 11 minutes is, So we got it really fast, and it was just awesome. And then we
had a whole bunch of people jump on board as well. So we had people like Jason Aaron and Brad Meltzer and Mark Wade, and they all wanted to contribute stories, and we said, well, you realize we're not going to pay you. And it's kind of intimidating to say that to Mark Wade and Brad Meltzer. Like, we're not going to pay you.
Can't pay.
And the reaction was, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll do it.
We're all right with that. So we're like, really? Okay. So
It was like, it's a comic book job, but nobody gets paid.
Yeah. And then
But
once
we give them books and stuff.
Yeah, once those people jumped on board, there are a whole bunch of other people like Jason Aaron and Judd Winnick are going to be doing stories, and even some people we haven't mentioned yet because we want to make sure that they're actually going to do it because they said they got to check their
Yeah,
schedules
people got
and stuff.
deadlines and stuff.
But we told them all the same thing, and once other people heard that other people were jumping on board in what we were doing, they gladly handed us pages.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like you're getting scripts from people, like a Brad Meltzer script in the email. I'm like, what? It's like, I can't wait to see you draw this, guys. I'm like, what? Mark Wade stuff. It's just cool. It's really strange, but really awesome. And just like, we had an anniversary party in our store, and I'm looking back, we had Jason Latour, Mark Wade, and James Robinson, and Mike Norton all sitting at a table together, all drawing and signing stuff.
It kind of blows your mind when you think about it, because originally we were going to have the 1 year anniversary. It was just going to be me, Art, and myself. What should we do for the 1 year anniversary? Oh, we'll sign at the store.
Yeah.
And then we started getting other people asking us if they could come, and we're like, really?
And we
Seriously,
had
everyone
to
come?
do a party for 2 days. We had to make it Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
So we had so many people come, it was like a revolving door. And we had all the guys who signed there all year long.
Throughout the whole year.
Yeah, we had them all like going 2-hour shifts.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, they set up in their shift, but then they move over for the next guy because they don't want to stop drawing. It's pretty fun.
Sounds like a really fun story you guys have there.
Yeah, we're rocking it.
Everybody should come. You're all invited.
We're on the map now in Skokie,
Touching Evanston.
touching beautiful downtown Skokie.
Now, since you're out of New York, Franco, how often do you get out to the store?
At least once.
At least once. Okay, all right.
I was out for Free Comic Book Day. No, I get out two
You were
three
there
times
about
a year.
5 or 6 times. you were there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think about 5 times total
Yeah, you were
last
there.
year. And this year I'll be going out a couple more times. So yeah, it's more difficult for me being out in New York. But I get out as often as I can. When we were talking about the whole thing with Mark, he lived in Florida and he ran Acme Comics. Shout out, hey, Acme Comics down in Florida. Really, really big store. And he was looking for a change to either move to New York. And before we initially talked about the store, he said, I'm thinking of a change. I'm thinking of moving, to New York or Chicago, I said, well, what would you do? He goes, I don't know. I'll figure it out. And this was before we even thought about the store, because Art and I had talked about it. But
I was ready about 10 years from now. I was going to open like an antique place. So all my stuff
Yeah.
and our toasters.
But it was
and
like
stuff
one of
that.
those. Yeah, it was like one of those dream things. Like someday, we want to open this up. Just talk. But then when he said he was going to either move to New York or Chicago, it kind of like light bulb went off over my head, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
And we were both saying, pick me, pick me.
Yeah. So then he decided on Chicago. I'm like, oh. But yeah, no, it worked out. So it's all good.
Pretty awesome. we're gonna have, our issue 1 of all your comics at the printer right now. Issue 2 should be there in like 2 more days. And, we wanna have them done by the end of April to debut them at C2E2 and stuff like that. So, it's pretty cool to have all these books. We just have to hopefully fit in our garages and basements, because we got like 5,000 of each one coming.
Because you're not gonna go through Diamond at all for this, are you?
Eventually.
Oh, eventually?
we will.
Okay.
We just don't have it in our plan. I mean, when we started making comics.
Well, you have a plan?
We have
It
a
doesn't sound
plan.
like you got a.
Yeah, the
We're rolling
plan-
it out
the plan
as we think of
evolves.
it.
But we always think we could do this, and then this, and then this. Oh, I didn't think about that. Write that down, you know? But in the early 90s, I started it, my first book came out in 1994. So-
After 1993, you
And
can't talk about.
93, no, I
You
went
can't
from
talk about that.
93 was awful.
No, we won't talk about that.
Yeah, thank you, I appreciate
Hey,
that.
no problem.
I tried to do a Kickstarter thing for 10 grand, I'll reveal a whole podcast what happened, but we're not
Now, be
gonna.
careful, you might actually get that
I know.
reached. I mean, if you can get 15, 1,000, 11 minutes, come on.
That's why we didn't do it.
Yeah, like, nah, it might
You gotta
work.
raise a little higher than that.
It's a special 4-hour.
It's okay.
Podcast featuring Blossom. You know? And Bixby will be next to me holding my hand. But, forgot where I was going with that.
It's odd. No, that was
It's odd.
before.
No, that was earlier. But, issue 1, 2, I forget. What about,
What else we got?
what else? We got
Okay,
questions.
well, I look around, you actually have a collection art of custom Migos, is that
Yeah,
correct?
that's true.
I love Mego figures. I had
Yeah.
like all of them when I was a kid, because I was born like in '69, right
Yeah.
around Detroit. But as a kid, we sold them at like the garage for like 10 cents a piece in like the late '70s, and I regret that to this day.
Yeah,
But your collection is great. How do you get people to make these things for you?
I make them myself.
You make them yourself.
Yeah,
How do you have the time to do comics, do your
I don't
podcast,
know.
to
I
make
always have
Mego
free.
figures?
I always have free for all Fridays, especially when DC Comics was in New York. They were only an hour ahead, so if it was 8 o'clock there, people were already home. So my night ended at 7. But now they all work in California,
Right.
so I'm getting emails sometimes 11 o'clock at night if they work late. So I'm like, oh, my Friday nights are. Party starts at 6. I can't go because it's only 4 o'clock in California. There's coming back from lunch still, so I got time. I'm working late on Fridays. So my free for all Fridays used to be me making Migos till 4 in the morning, and that was cool. But now I haven't done that in a while. But a few years ago, I met Dr. Mego, who made all those Mattel retro action figures. But he was selling a bunch of Mego parts and heads and bodies, and I ran into him, and I remembered, it's like, these are the figures I had as a kid. So I just started buying Batman boots and Green Arrow hats and stuff, and then I went
Just
home and assembled
retrofitting
them.
your older stuff.
Yeah, just like, because I knew I didn't have Green Arrow's backpack and all, so I fixed them all up. And then on the plane, I was reading his catalog, and I'm coming up with ideas. Ooh, I could buy these red pants for Flash and all these boots from yellow things. And so I ordered a big order from him. I sent a guy almost $400 for heads and bodies and clothes and boots. And I made a bunch of customs, and but that was about 5 years
You have to
ago.
understand, like, I'll call up Art, and he's like, yeah, I got a trough full of heads here. You have to kind of put it in context to know what he's talking about. It's Migos. It's
I
not
just
like
bought a
Migos.
Bruce Willis head. He's awesome. I'm gonna make like the boxer from Pulp Fiction. And I got I'm working on a Vincent Jules from Pulp Fiction. I got Walking Dead guys. I'm just finding things. I find parts and clothes and boxes. It's good. Like if I go to the old flea market toy shows, where all the old guys are just selling stuff with dirt on it. Just buy all that stuff. But there's a Mego convention every year, the Mego meet that I go, and I met a group of guys who are on the Mego board. And when you go to the show, it's a show like this, but every table has Mego action figures. All of them, every place.
Is it the same place every year? Or is it-
Yeah. So what I do
Where's
is
it being held?
it's in West Virginia,
Well, that's not too far. From
Wheeling,
here.
West Virginia.
That's only a couple hours from here.
But this year,
Road trip.
this year is awful. It's good and bad, but for a long time I wanted to go to that Metropolis Superman show.
Yeah.
And last year, the year before, I was drawing crypto, Super Pets, but I don't think it mattered enough. But now that I'm making Superman, I got invited. I'm like, oh, so, and it's the same weekend as Meet Me. So last year I missed Meet Me because I had to go to Book Fair to promote the Super Pets books, and it was the same weekend. But now Book Fair is the weekend before, so like, yes, I could do both. And then Metropolis, I looked at my wife and I was like, what should I do? She said, you got to do Superman. Oh, yeah, I have to. Next year, nobody will care. But I got to go now. Number 12 will be out just in time. Yeah, it's going to be good. So I'm going to be sitting with Noah Neal and Dean Cain probably. Hopefully. I want to be at the same table as Dean Cain. He's awesome.
Erica Grant's going to be there by any chance?
Is she really?
I'm asking if she's
Oh
going to
my
be there.
God. I got to practice. I'm going to say hi. What happened? Give that man some water. No. She's the best Lois Lane. I like it a lot. I know people are going to tweet me now. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. You know. No, she's awesome.
No,
She's the reason why I
thank you.
watched. She's the reason why I was recording Smallville. Her and General Zod episodes were good. And the black trench coat, that was good too. I like that. And he moved the planet at the end.
So I didn't mean to interrupt
No,
you
go
there.
ahead. No, that was an addendum.
An addendum?
Yokel
Okay.
Chips would call it an addendum. So go ahead.
I forgot, how did you guys meet, actually?
It was at a show in I actually forget
I
where.
think I
It
heard
was
the
either,
story,
it was
but
either Massachusetts or New Hampshire, and it was in somebody's basement. The show.
Was it better than
It
this?
was,
No, it was worse. Much worse. And it was
was
actually
like,
in somebody's basement at a VFW hall or something like that.
Yeah.
There was one person shopping, everybody else was dealers. But the one person shopping happened to be in front of my table. And you know, when you're self-publishing your own comics, you're the writer, artist, inker, letterer, editor. So I made a few mistakes, and he happily pointed out every typo.
you missed a comma here.
Yeah, I made, and you know, like I drew this guy with 3 hands on this page, but I drew him with 2 fingers on this page, and after about an hour of this, I had enough, and you know, because I was trying to be nice to the guy, you know, and after about an hour, I just snatched the book out of his hand, and I said, you know what, if you don't like my book, don't read it, you know, and I just grabbed it out of his hand, and just at that moment, Art was walking in with his stuff because he was late to the show. And he looks at me and goes, hey, you sell a lot of books that way?
That's not a good tactic, man.
Yeah. He's like, teach me how to sell my book. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, he was real mad.
Yeah, I was mad. And then imagine my surprise when he sets up next to me. And I'm like, oh, great. There's an entire show I have to deal with this guy. And it was like within the first hour of the show, of a 2-day show. And then and I wouldn't talk to him for like the first 2 hours. So,
He was still mad, he's fuming.
yeah, it's like this jerk.
He could fry an egg on him.
How do you sell books? So I was like, man.
Then that guy even asked you, hey, there was nothing to do. It's already 3 days go by, we're still there, watching tumbleweeds. And then I said, hey, mind if I look at your books? And you looked at me like,
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, he's going to do the same thing the last guy did.
So we trade. I said, I'll give you a set of mine, and a set of yours, you know? So I read it, and we just read each other's books, and we hung out, we had dinner.
Yeah, we
you know,
talked all weekend because
movies.
there's nothing else to do.
Went out dancing, all kinds of stuff.
And then it turns out at the time, because I live in New York, and Art was living in Connecticut, which was like about 15 minutes from where I live.
Yeah. We shared the same mall
Right, yeah.
and Olive Garden.
So then it said, you want to hang out? And I said, no. Because he yelled at me. And then he goes, no, I'm new to the area, like I don't know a lot of comic people, you know, we can hang out. And I'm like, all right, fine.
Yeah, we became friends. And I
then
showed him the way we started working. It was weird. I went over there. We watched Star Wars a few times and wrestling and Batman and stuff like that. And then I showed him a sketch of a little character's head that I just wrote his head, and I wrote Patrick the Wolf Boy on it. And I didn't even know his body, just his head. And I said, hey, what do you think of this guy? And then he was like, wow. He said, what if blah, 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 this happened? Like, yeah, and then we could do this, and then this. And so we said, all right, so we just created a character. Yeah, all right. So we just started writing everything we did. And we wrote like a whole bunch of issues of Patrick the Wolf Boy. And that's how the collaboration began. So we were just like, hey, I like,
Yeah, we did
like
some
your thoughts.
Crazy Baby Weirdsville thing
Yeah, we
first.
teamed up our guys, they fought, and then they became friends. Like us, you know? It's kind of like a crossover. I didn't fight though, I let the guy get angry and like, I'm kind of like Tony Stark wants to rile up the Hulk. but he's waiting for it.
Oh,
Then when
great,
he
I'm the big,
yeah,
fat
you're
green
the,
guy.
you're the angry one. Tony Stark's the snarky. Can you snarky?
Snarky, yeah.
Sneaky. He's kind of a jerk. I used to get in trouble with the guys in high school because I would do that. I would just make fun of them and walk away, and they get real mad at me. But I was always 6'3" in high school, so I could say that stuff. Then they bring like 5 guys, and I'm like, oh. But that's all right.
So that's the secret orange.
The secret orange.
Secret orange. Oranges.
Well, now, how did you guys get to do your own podcast with Johnny Suntress? How'd that come about? I can call him Johnny. He's not here.
Yeah, Johnny talked to Franco. It was at a, we always wanted to do that too.
It started out because the way we work, he moved back to Chicago after about a year, but we always stayed in touch, and we always continued working together. Our cell phone bills used to be real high until we got Skype.
Yeah, we discovered Skype. It's awesome.
But,
But we talk like 6 hours a day.
But we would talk almost every other day, at least, if not every day, and the conversations, they're not all about comic books. They're just about everything. And the conversations we would have,
My girl threw up on me again.
yeah, they'd be funny. And I said to him at one point, I said, if anybody were listening, I don't know if they believe these actual conversations. And then I told Johnny Sunchips that in San Diego. And I said, Art and I, and before I could finish the word podcast, he's like, yes, you should
We
do
were
a
in San
podcast."
Diego. You were talking to him for a long time, and I'm sketching, drawing kids and stuff. And then he came over by me, and he said, "Well, I'll call you this week, and we'll get started." I'm like, on what? He was on a podcast. Okay. And he left, and I looked at Frank. We got a podcast? He says, "Yeah, we're starting it this week." Oh, all right. We always thought about doing stuff like that, like comic shops, podcasts. But the problem is, we don't want to do any of the work. So we kind of figured out how to do it, but we're like, I don't have time
See,
to do
Art
it.
doesn't realize that all of these ideas are his, and he says them at some point in just casual converation, then forgets about them. But then
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, I'll pick up on it and actually,
We should buy a
follow through.
Batmobile. Eventually, he'll put beep beep, Art, Franco's hair. Hey dude, oh man, the cape's in the trunk. That's how it'll
Now,
be.
you're laughing, but this actually did happen. It did, because one year there is security footage of Art and I dressed as Batman and Robin, running around an empty parking lot in Rosemont, Illinois.
There it is.
There is.
We dressed as Batman and Robin to go to Wizard World. And my wife worked like 2 blocks away from the convention, and we used to get
I'll have
free
you know I
parking.
didn't shave either.
He was,
I was dressed as
he
Robin.
was Robin as if he retired when he was 12. But then he had a reunion tour. And you find, like when you watch The Beatles or The Monkees, or you watch, when you see Adam West and Burt Ward, and you didn't see him before, you're like, that's Robin? That's how he looked a little bit.
And I honestly don't know how I get talked into these things. But Art he's like, let's do this. And I'm like, this sounds really bad, but all right. Yeah, let's try it.
Here, put this on, put
So
this
I'm
mask.
dressed as Robin,
Here's
and
some
we
green shorts.
pull into this parking lot, and Art says, hey, I got a video camera. I want to videotape us running back and forth in this parking garage. Again, I'm thinking, this sounds like a really stupid idea. Okay, let's do it.
I gotta figure out how to put that on the internet. I got it on a DVD.
So we're videotaping each other like 2 morons in a parking garage, dressed as Batman and Robin. And all of a sudden this car
The
comes over.
security guard comes out, and then he sees me running. I'm running, I stop for him. And he's looking at me, and I said, pull the mask up. He goes, oh, hey, Art. All right. Just seeing who this was, and he turned around and went back.
I saw the security guard, and I'm like, oh man.
I don't know where I
I'm
got
like, this is where that initial thought of this is a bad idea comes to fruition.
Yeah.
And then he lifts his mask, and I hear the guy say, oh, hey, Art. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, so, what are you doing? I said, we're going to the show. We're making a movie first.
But then that's not even the end of the story, because then your wife comes up to you like on Tuesday, because this was the building where she worked. So on
We're in the parking
Tuesday,
garage running around.
on Monday afternoon, she comes home and she says,
Yeah, she says, did you dress like Batman and Robin and run around like, yeah? She goes, well, yeah, I saw the video. The security guard showed me the video. Yeah, you had to do that in the bank parking lot where I work? Well, yeah. in a nice empty room, you know? It looked like when you're walking in the show over here, that was one van. That's how the parking garage was. Oh, this would be cool. Let's run around Wayne Manor here. So it was good. There was no Alfred to be found though.
I seriously don't know what compels me to say yes to these things. I still have yet to figure it out, because I'm a very rational person, and under normal circumstances, I would say no.
No,
Absolutely not.
I sit and draw for 18 hours a day, and right when I start inking, that's when my brain goes on. What else can I be doing? What else can I work? What's next? You know, the writing and the penciling is what I use my brain